7:17 a.m. morning time, Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. Where's that audio coming from? Turning that audio down over there. Mark Kulak, Houstonic.live. Today's show is a part 2 of a long stream yesterday. Why would you be listening to this? This is a show brought to you by an analyst who was in the tech industry for quite a few years. Competitive intelligence analyst, but really a career that started off in engineering. And we are reviewing the real story, which has never really been documented, never really been spoken about, and oftentimes misunderstood and glossed over, of how Candace Owens came to be introduced to the fake populist, fake right conservative movement in the United States, and in a position where she is right now, where she has for a while been presented, put on a stage, put in front of everyone as the controversial, you should trust her because she'll say the truth person. And eventually she will be, as an actress, orchestrated to sabotage as many people as possible. And you can tell that many of the people right now that are screaming, begging, crying, on their knees, begging you to trust Candace Owens above anything and anyone else, are also almost without fail far left and ex-Bernie Sanders voters. That's just the way it is. Anyways, even to the point where they led lawsuits against the Democrat Party to support Bernie Sanders or whatever. Anyways, the story of Candace Owens in 2016, just to recap, is how she got involved in this thing called Gamergate. You can watch yesterday's introduction to review, and as we are exploring here with blog posts written by Candace Owens, one very long one in particular, by reviewing it in detail, taking breaks, looking at video, trying to look at things in context, you can see how I believe her getting roped into this was an accident. It was not planned. She was starting this social autopsy effort, part of Degree 180. It's known as an anti-doxing, or I should say a doxing site, anti-anonymity, and it wound up getting roped into Gamergate and throwing that whole thing off. And through this, she wound up being, because she was an enemy of another enemy of channels like Breitbart, and that is Americans like Zoe Quinn, who seem to be the protagonists of Gamergate. And one thing led to the next. Before you know it, Miley Yiannopoulos, I believe, reached out to her. Some other people at Breitbart, some probably good people, some probably absolute liars, and people who are just working against whatever the interests of real Americans would be. And it's just unfortunate that so many people gloss over this part and misunderstand it, because I guess it's because you have to gloss over it and misunderstand it in order to walk away with a improper, incorrect, misleading understanding of Candace Owens herself. Now, this isn't only motivated because of a belief that exposing Candace Owens is some criminal mastermind or something like that, or thought leader. No. This is about how exposing how a fake populist, fake right, fake conservative, fake pro-America movement was orchestrated and put together and is still ongoing. And much of what you are being presented with, much of what I was presented with when I first started doing this thing, with the sole mission of just talking about chronic illness and most importantly, fatal drug overdoses in the United States being underreported, or at least unrecognized and therefore not addressed, is that what we see as an alternative, it doesn't really exist. It was all fake. It was all orchestrated. And I think by best understanding Candace Owens, you can understand that. So, do you need to listen to this whole, the remainder hour, 2 hours today? That depends. If you enjoy listening to my narration, if you enjoy listening to my analysis, I'll review some questions from time to time. It's just a one-person shop. So if you sense I'm on a how would you say I'm kind of doing the solo thing for a while, please chat amongst yourselves within YouTube or Twitch. I look at the Twitch chat once in a while, and I'll say, if you typed in a question and I missed it, because there's certain times I'll pause. It's just too hard for just my one brain to context switch back and forth. But it is done a live show, one and done. You don't need to listen to the full 2 hours. I probably already gave you more or less a summary right there. But it's really fun, I think, to go through it line by line. In particular, this blog post, and it is a monster of a blog post. It would probably be, let me guess a number, 20 to 50 pages if you just printed it out in, a standard font size. Maybe not 50, maybe 30, okay? It also has illustrations in it. It is a monster blog post. And it was written on April 18th, 2016. It was deleted. In fairness, much of the social 180, the Degree 180 site is down. But I believe the blog post was deleted, and fortunately, some versions of it are available on the Internet Archive. I was never able to find this blog post before. I never knew the existence of it until I did a deep search on the Breitbart site, Breitbart.com, and they had a link to it. And wow, this is amazing, because you can see what her mindset was, Candace Owens, at that time. I don't care what she says about it now. She can say anything she wants about it right now. It'll be narrative control. She can twist things. I'm not saying she does about this in particular. I allege that she does, or I believe that she does. But the point, though, is that things that she has said about this event, about this time period today, and the years afterwards, can all be softened, managed, updated, tweaked to give a misleading impression. All right. I want to know what she was saying at that time and just before that time, because those statements and those thoughts and those things are, if you can find them, are immutable. Hence why I encourage people, the most valuable books about September 11th, 2001 are the ones that were published at the time of September 11th, 2001. And I mean like September 9th, 2001. The book was already printed. It was already bound. It was already boxed up. It was already available for sale 2 days before 9/11. And anyone that does not tell you, not just about the existence of this book, having a summary about the existence of the book Germs is a worthless exercise. Because why the book matters is because it was published 2 days before 9/11. Having this book that took 3.5 years to write, basically about gene therapy vaccines and the whole network of Robert Malone, HIV vaccines, even including the person that made the accusation several years later that Bruce Ivins was the person responsible for the anthrax letters, a book that came out the week after 9/11, Big Shot AIDS vaccine. This book matters because of the publication date. It shows intent, and it shows what the intent was, or what the narrated intent was. Books after 9/11 about how George Bush's uncle's brother's friend did a stock trade and made some money and knew some Jews, and therefore it's Israel and the Saudis, is bullshit. It's worthless bullshit. It's a total waste of time. Unless looking at it, considering the authors who would be involved in such books as part of the paid narrative control and distraction. So, again, you don't have to watch the show. That's fine. I'm an analyst, and there's different parts of the workflow of an analyst. I try to do some video shorts from time to time. They're fast, 2, 3, 5 minutes. It's a lot of information, but it's hard to describe in that short a period of time how exactly all of that work was done. And I think that that's part of the joy of being an analyst, is talking about what the thought process was, how things were found, what searches were done. I have again, research, analysis, overdose awareness. It's probably going to be turning into archival analysis and overdose awareness will be the three key terms of my program. And my main output is my archive. I just happen to do these shows because I think it's fun and it's relieving and it's fun to do a little bit of interactivity. I learn things because of my own learning style by having to read through it with a live audience, because if I can't describe it in a way that they can understand it, like repeating sentences, then obviously I'm not absorbing all of it either. So this is also an exercise to help me. Like I've downloaded this before, but because of my, the way I process information, sometimes I have a hard time reading things, especially if I'm just reading it to myself, extracting all the little nuances out of it. But when you read it to an audience and you have to then describe it, it helps me a lot. So I think that's my little intro for today. And hello, Bill. We're discussing yesterday. Oh, good for them. Good for them. So far, I don't think that they've accomplished anything. I've yesterday being at my actually it was the day before, going and seeing my dad and his potential final days, knowing that this particular bloodline is tough as nails, but having taken an unnecessary injection based upon lies told about people like Paul Cottrell from his Wall Street apartment, looking down upon the body bags that he said lining up the streets of New York City. Peter Duke and George Webb propagated lies about a pandemic. Lies about a pandemic. Not factoring in dropping life expectancy of overdoses, never talking about supplemental oxygen causing ARDS, never talking about the very, very strong likelihood that fentanyl-laced medication was distributed in New York in April in 2020 while people were locked in their homes, told not to leave, and told to order online from the pharmacy. They propagated lies that came out of India. All of that stuff about the smokestacks, about the bats in the caves, about the miners, it all came out of India. Even the HIV insert paper came out of India. So they propagated lies that killed people. George Webb, Peter Duke, propagated lies that murdered people. So maybe they should go, maybe their final sip for Scott Adams should go, Scott Adams, this is the final sip for Scott Adams, who propagated the lies of COVID that murdered people. Oh, well, there you go. And then they they encouraged other people to get attention and financial support while people were murdered during COVID. There's your George Webb and Peter Duke summary. They propagated lies and they encouraged people to support liars that led to murder. Where's the discussion here? There's no discussion. They're complicit in murder. Good morning. 18th. Best viewers. Remove the space. What the hell are you talking about? That sounds like a deletion to me. Okay, let's see here. Come on. Block. Unfortunately, blocking is an exercise in futility when it comes to. I did block him. Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's get back to it. Let's get back to the article here. You can watch the full article yesterday to get up to this point. So let me add a few more monitors in here. Again, I'm not going to take the time to do all of the editing on today's stream to cut it down 10, 20, 30%. This is a real a relaxed show here today. Excellent. Thank you, Christy. Christy's doing good work. Thank you for doing the Lord's work, Christy. All right. So before I get back, I found a article here on something called surveillance equipment, dplsurveillanceenquipment.com. Candace Owens Farmer, The Truth. I suspect that this is a website that is, at the very least, it's either left-leaning, I haven't done the analysis of it, or sees Candace Owens as not a conservative. I suspect, based upon the language, that they are expressing that they don't believe Candace Owens to be a real conservative, which is fine. In here, it talks about Candace Owens using the NAACP opportunistically. I think that's a pretty fair statement to say. But they remind people in here of, of this, about how Candace Owens alleged, and this matters, okay, this factors into the analysis I did yesterday. Candace Owens allegedly stopped paying rent for her New York City apartment. I don't know if it was in Manhattan or Brooklyn. In September of 2016, very important to note these dates, and was evicted in January of 2017, which coincides with her, quote, coming out, unquote, as a conservative months later. As for the, let's see here, at the age of 28, Candace Owens was so fiscally irresponsible that she rented a $3,500 apartment, lived there for 6 months rent-free, then claimed she got toxic mold sickness and threatened to sue the landlord to avoid paying rent. So if she stopped paying a rent September 2016 and she was evicted in 2017, I bring up these dates because this would coincide with her having to move in there, all right, sometime around the summer of 2016. So sometime around the summer of 2016, she's in a new apartment, and then she stops paying rent, $3,500 a month. That's a lot of money for a lot of people. For some people, it isn't. If you have a job in New York City, you are, unless you're, young or whatever, there's a lot of people in New York City that can swing that. Working in the financial sector, technology sector in New York City. Okay. I bring this up because love or hate Candace Owens, okay? Give her the benefit of the doubt. If she had the money, let's just say she has a lot of money, okay? I don't know how much money she had at the time. I think she had run out of money. But let's say she has $1 million in the bank. Do you really think that she would tarnish her reputation, which she's working so hard to build up, and make paperwork that says she has some sort of mold infection impacting her female body parts because of her apartment? Why would she want something like that out there? That's awful. That's going to scar her for life. That means if she had the money, she could have just paid it. So if she could just pay $3,500 a month to get a better reputation, she would do it. So why would she not pay her rent just to save that little bit of money? What it means is, I suspect she really ran out of money. So if she really did run out of money for the first time ever, because she doesn't have a history of not paying her rent, that means that she lost her income. That means that she lost her income sometime in the summer or September of 2016. She lost her income 2 or 3 months after this Gamergate story. Now, probably after this Gamergate story, if my analysis of this is true, that means that she would have probably been told, you're not part of this degree 180 or this social autopsy one thing. You're out. You screwed us over. And I'm thinking that these words are coming from someone connected to either Condé Nast, the publishing firm, or Jesse Jackson or Hillary Clinton, or who knows. It's somewhere in the DNC. She screwed up. She screwed up the whole Gamergate thing. She made a lot of people mad. She's out. All right. So she doesn't have income anymore. Now she knows that you got to pay your rent. For someone who's working so hard on her reputation, she's not going to avoid paying a rent and create a record of her having toxic mold on her female private parts to save money. She wouldn't do that, being so concerned about her image. What it means is she probably had a little money in the bank, maybe some credit card opportunity, balances, or room to borrow some more money, paid her the next month or two, and then ran out, and then resorted to not paying the rent and a lawsuit. What it means is, no, she was not picked up. If she was picked up by Breitbart, if she was picked up and supported by Miley Yiannopoulos at that time, she would pay her rent, as opposed to leaving a paper trail out there of her having toxic mold on her female private parts. It means she was not yet part of the alt-right thing. She wasn't, because she didn't have the money from it and she was kicked out. If she must have been kicked out. There's just no other way. She would have paid if she was doing her job and she was able to cover her bills, etc., she would have covered the rent. So while many people view this as Candace Owens is grifting, Candace Owens is cheap, Candace Owens doesn't want to pay her bills, she's willing to lie. That is the wrong way of looking at it. That is the wrong analysis. That's the wrong takeaway from this information about her not paying her rent. Her not paying her rent should be, why not? Because if Candace Owens has $1 million in the bank, she would spend $100,000 of it in a heartbeat if she knew it would improve her audience and improve her public persona. She would spend that without even thinking. That's where she's investing. All right? I can understand that. I can respect that. As a business person, as an actress, this is what she's selling. She's selling her image. She's not going to tarnish it. It means that she was desperate. And if you watch Candace Owens on the stage at her TED Talk in October of 2017, you will see someone that looks defeated. She does not have any charisma during that. She's at the end. All right. In fact, let's look at that here. Let's play that a little bit. Come on. So we'll save that one for later. This is her doing the FAQ. Let's go back to YouTube and let's search. Actually, I have it. I have a link on my page. Candace Owens TED Talk.
I'm actually very serious. If you guys are not yet in on the trend of hashtags, you have got to get started. Formerly known to us all as the digit symbol thingy, hashtags have become a way to establish universal trends in terms of what everybody is talking about online. There are weekly recurring ones like hashtag TBT, which stands for Throwback Thursday, where users can literally affix any event from their past and reshare it with friends. Like this user who just happens to be throwing it back to last week in Miami when he was at a concert. There are also politically inspired ones, like you all know, such as hashtag Scare Hillary in 4 words, which is amazing. You really can get lost in the comedic abyss that the internet has become over the years. The point, of course, is that once a hashtag is used enough times by enough people, it is
now clued into hashtags
worldwide. And that really is one of the most amazing things about the internet.
And this is through the whole Gamergate thing. She's now aware of hashtags. She was unaware of hashtags going into this.
It's birthed an era of what I like to refer to as digital activism. An example of this occurred on November 13th,
her punch isn't there.
When the
she doesn't have the punch.
By a series of horrific terrorist events you will all recall. It was actually due to the speed of the internet and its associative hashtags that we received real-time coverage of those events. And individuals began using that hashtag Pray for Paris to send love and support to all of the victims. And the beauty of something like that is pretty hard to ignore, right? Digital activism as a means to spread love.
She's had some discussions probably with Miley Yiannopoulos, some other. She's read the articles in Breitbart.
In this day and
She probably sensed that there's a little bit of opportunity there, which is why she shares a few things, like she's trying here to find an audience. She's trying to find a customer. She's trying to find a customer for Candace Owens. Candace Owens doesn't have a customer here because she pissed off a lot of people with Gamergate. And this is why at this time when she's doing this TED Talk, she's not paying her rent anymore. She's not. Do you really think that she wants to be on stage at the TED Talk and people go, oh, that's the girl that says that she has toxic mold on her female body parts? No, that's a desperate move, not paying your rent at that time because while you're trying to, find an audience for yourself. I find this so fascinating. This is a study. Now she's talking about the Flakegate.
So white.
This is a study about how people are found and recruited and sometimes cast off when it comes to the act of fake left, fake right, social media control.
United States or Hitler? I don't know. Because it's here today and it'll be gone tomorrow. Welcome to this generation of activism.
Now, at the same time, what Candace Owens has turned into, her platform, her show, the dishonesty and distractions that are there, lead to the continued misunderstanding of COVID, that are leading to this irrational belief that there's an Israeli behind every tree, behind every door, behind every wall, behind every email, controlling everything that everyone thinks all the time. All communication, all companies, all patents, all dollars, everything in the world, all the time, everywhere is controlled by an Israeli. The Israeli derangement syndrome is definitely being propagated by Candace Owens. A lot of the lies, a lot of the bullshit is. So I'm not saying that she's a hero or a truth warrior, okay? But I have empathy. I have empathy for how at this time she's not really in it, but she's close. It's an interesting, she was so close because she was in this social autopsy company. She's with the daughter of one of the top DNC fundraisers. She was introduced to a lot of people by Jesse Jackson, and because of her lawsuit, I'm certain she's had dinner with Hillary Clinton a couple of times. So she's kind of on her way out right now. She doesn't really have family connections, her own family. So it's just an interesting study. It's a very, very interesting study about how people can get added and removed from the list. And you have to make a timeline, and everyone has a timeline. You have to put the things on the timeline. To just say, she wanted to, screw the landlord out of $3,500 a month because she's grifting. That's it. I'm sorry, but that's not fun. That's not interesting. There's a lot more powerful information and things which you can extract from that. All right. So let us get back to the reading here from where we left off yesterday. Candace Owens, April 18th, 2016. Her massive, massive, massive blog post talking about her collaboration with let's see here, with Zoe Quinn, and we're going to go back to the point of the word doxing. And as I showed yesterday, Candace Owens clearly didn't know the word dox. She did not know the word dox. Never heard it, because to her, she was simply thinking with the social autopsy company about anonymity, about masking. Doxing is a word from a slightly different culture than she's been in, and it's definitely used all the time in gaming. She doesn't use that word because that's not her world. So her introduction to Zoe Quinn and Gamergate was an accident. It was unplanned. I don't think anyone really foresaw it. And Zoe Quinn at Gamergate, love her, hate her, okay. Here, this sort of suggests that she was reaching out to Candace Owens and even trying to say, hint, hint, you really shouldn't be doing this. This situation's already settled. Well, what are you doing? Not trying to bully her, but, and I think Zoe Quinn was probably even herself a little bit perplexed. Like, how could anyone be doing this? And not know that we got it settled. What are you trying to do here? Anyways, so let's continue on. All right, so This is Candace Owens. Not once, ever, in the 6 weeks of initial feedback from many communities and organizations had we heard the word docs. That aside, I was happy to answer her questions because I was ready for it. I told her that we never publish the addresses or telephone numbers of any individual, only the information that they have already published onto their LinkedIn pages and public profiles, schools they attend, jobs, etc. I told her that regarding minors, it was something that I felt strongly we had to include them in, but that she needn't worry because we had not a single minor on our database to date. I don't know how she would know that, but okay. And this also suggests that, this platform is running. They probably took some of their startup money. It might have even been Candace Owens' own money that was being used to fund this thing. I'm still trying to figure that part out. To clarify, I built this database with minors in mind. I built. She worked with people who built it. They are the ones I care about most deeply, as any person who knows me will confirm. Of course, again, Candace Owens never talks about the opioid epidemic at all, and if she does, it's not with any level of specificity or any usefulness. No recognition that we have an epidemic of children right now that have lost parents in the United States of America due to this drug overdose crisis. So there's many ways which minors right now are being punished in the United States of America and feeling loss. And she's not acknowledging that at all in anything she does. So it's nice to say that she cares about minors, but she's not acting in a way, it's incredible that she just doesn't know. And I find it hard to believe that she just does. She's never heard of it before. I did not come from a rich family. I had to take out loans to go to college. Yeah, maybe some. I think she probably got some loans covered too because of her hate-based, race-based hate crime allegations in high school, and work almost full-time throughout school to support myself. I chose to do that through nannying. So for 4 years of college, she didn't go to college for 4 years. She was out in 3. And a year after college in New York, I made a career working with children. So this is a picture of her with some of the children that she is nannying. I suspect that these are relatives of Mark Weiner. They kind of look like Mark Weiner a little bit. I even see a little bit of the face of Zoe Weiner, the person that she started the company with these 2 children. This is me 2 months ago spending time with the children I babysat when they were toddlers. If they were toddlers when she babysat, then that suggests she was babysitting for these children when she was in college. And when she was in college at Rhode Island, I think that the connection of Jesse Jackson to Mark Weiner, who was in Rhode Island, them being very, very close, led to this. And maybe Candace Owens was able to help nannying. Again, that's my suspicion here. So Candace Owens goes on to say in this very, very hard to find and recover blog post, "It's the best job I ever had, and I consider every single child that I have cared for over the years to be family members to me. I have learned from children that everyone is born good and incredibly certain of who they are. It is the world that strips that sense away over time. Of course, sorry, but the world is filled with people who were also children at one point. So this is a chicken and egg thing here. It is incredibly difficult being a child." Well, it can't be that difficult because we have a world with 8 billion people that managed to get big starting off as a child. But anyways, much less with the added saga of bullying that platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram provide. I remember myself as a child that was way too thin, with fried hair, having been made fun of for having no boobs. Still don't. I was lucky I didn't have to go home and read the same criticism of myself that I already harbored within my own mind. I can't imagine feeling the echo of such words existing within the perpetuity of the internet. Prior to launching our Kickstarter, I had met with high schools, teachers, and parents throughout the state of Connecticut who had seen my article and wanted to get involved. People from all over the spectrum, even those involved in the aftermath of the horrific Newtown shootings. Again, Remember, the school in Newtown, Connecticut, Sandy Hook, just a mile and a half off of the Houstonic River. It is a haunted river, I'll tell you that, who were now devoting their lives in support of children. They all agreed that cyberbullying is one of the biggest issues they face today, and coming up with solutions to combat it had proven difficult over the years. The working idea was that we might be able to infiltrate their consciousnesses at a young age to understand the weight of the internet. Hey, kids, what can you say? What you say can actually last forever. By holding their words on our database for a few weeks, months, we hadn't decided anything yet, then this sort of fact would register at a young age, and they wouldn't make the same mistakes as an adult. Our mission was to stop the cycle. You can only do that by affecting a younger generation. The thing is, you don't really need... Do you really need a central database to do that, though? You can just give people an app and create the illusion that things kids say on the internet is forever. But I think I get the general idea of what she's thinking here. Whether it works or not, I don't know. But children think about short-term goals, scholarships, making sports teams, etc., right? We had imagined that if organizations could sign up for social autopsy and tell these young adults that they did social background checks on all of their students might think twice before hitting the enter button. Our network loved the idea. We weren't so quick to assume that everyone in the world would, though, so we knew that we first had to launch and actually exist first. This would be called proof of concept if she had experience doing it, which I don't think she does. As a database dedicated to adults, so that the parents would see it and get an understanding of how effective it might be for children. So to Zoe Quinn, I explained that the question of minors was a non-issue. It was something that didn't even need to be discussed, as it was a way down the line consideration. Zoe then pivoted her argument and told me that she was concerned that the bullies would wind up being harassed by self-proclaimed vigilantes. Candace says that Candace had heard that one 4 times that day alone via backers on our Kickstarter page and had answered it without any pushback. I explained to Zoe Quinn, in depth, our database. I explained to her that since it was pictorial driven, you couldn't search by keyword and expect all the people to come up with who had something against her. Of course, again, this shows no optical character recognition awareness. I have tons of materials in my own archive that are just pictures of magazines, newspaper pictures, personal photos that I've taken, sometimes just pictures of newspaper pages. And the Mac operating system itself actually does optical character recognition automatically. So, again, it's fine. Not everyone needs to get this stuff. It just goes to show that this isn't her field. So I believe that she is being honest when she says that she never heard of Gamergate before, never heard of Zoe Quinn, never heard of doxing. And it's just so curious that they were pushing this platform. It's just fascinating. Okay, so Candace Owens goes on to say, I explained to her that you could only search by a real first and a real last name. So if a person wanted to discover who John Doe was on Twitter, our database would be useless to them because the screenshot would say John Doe, but that the image would be registered under the real user's name. In essence, you'd have to know who you were looking for, and if you already knew their first and last name, you could head to their social media pages regardless of us. And, she's not totally wrong here. It's amazing how much information is already available about most people via Facebook and whitepages.com. Or you just go to truepeoplesearch.org. You can get phone numbers, landlines, cell phone numbers, relatives, neighbors, old jobs, old emails. Yeah, this stuff is out there. I often wonder, what's the difference between a site just making it available versus having to go through a $10 paywall to get the same information? It's, she's not really thinking about it that deeply. And I like the fact that she's not thinking about it that deeply, because you don't have to. I mean, it's that simple to understand. The information is already out there, and she's just acknowledging it. It's true. Imagine having the name Mark Kulak and having a name. There's only like 300 or 500 people in the nation with the last name Kulak. Maybe it was 2,000. I forget. It's been a while since they actually took the howmanyofme.org website down. There's like one other Mark Kulak in the country. I mean, talk about doxing nightmare. I can't hide. So maybe it's because I have such a unique name. I've always been like, well, what are you going to do? Not like anyone's going to confuse me with somebody else. So continuing on, I felt confident in my answer because we had realized that potential flaw early on. When we first hatched the idea, I had an off-site web developer who had helped us build Degree180.com draw up a mock of how the website might function. He did it quickly in about 10 days, if I recall, before sending me a link that would allow us to go in and add profiles of people so that we could see all the potential flaws in our design. We added about 100 or so profiles and sent around the not live link to a close group of friends and relevant parties for feedback. Now, I like this paragraph here. There's some lingo in here which suggests she is really doing this. Now, it doesn't mean that she's coding anything. What it means, though, is she's working with a developer and then going over the workflow of the site. This is a promising paragraph for me in her making me believe that she really did have some role in this website design. And what helped us to, let me repeat this. When we first hatched the idea, I had an off-site developer who had helped us build Degree180.com. So I don't know if she was involved with that at all. Maybe she was. Draw up a mock of how the website might function. And this is where it's like, who really had the Degree180.com plan? Because she started that with Zoe Quinn and a few other people. They look very much like they could have been at Vogue or something like that in 2015. And all we know is that she was with some unnamed private equity company in Manhattan. And I also found out earlier in this blog post, it says that she admired a guy named John Mackey, who is the founder of Whole Foods and a devout libertarian. I don't know how she would have gotten to know John Mackey by this time, because John Mackey, as a libertarian, is not going to be in the DNC circles with Hillary Clinton, Era Magaziner, Mark Weiner, Jesse Jackson, Harvey Weinstein, etc. That's a different network. So that's giving me some pause that maybe I was incorrect in the the belief that the private equity that Candace Owens had worked with was related to the Clinton Foundation, because they wouldn't be friendly with John Mackey of Whole Foods. So again, just thinking it through, you got to think about all these little details here. And she probably encouraged Zoe Quinn to join her in that case, if she got the money to do this from some private equity company. I don't know. This is just thinking this through. This blog post, there's a lot in here. So she goes on. I explained this. This is Candace saying, I explained this to Zoe Quinn. Her next point was about legalities. I didn't even understand her point about legal concerns because what we do is common sense legal. If a person has on their public LinkedIn and Facebook accounts that they work at Trader Joe's, why the hell would they be upset that a third-party site knew that they worked at Trader Joe's? I've always thought the same thing. See, here I am agreeing with Candace Owens. Candace Owens in this blog post of 2016, which I think that she wrote without reviewing by any legal staff. So this is just her. I believe this is just her. Now, there's some lies in here. Definitely some lies and some misleading things. Yeah. So even more. Why on earth would a doxer, because now she knows the word, come to our database to find information when it's in plain sight on the person's other profiles? I genuinely wasn't clear on her concern, but stressed to her that we had already asked lawyers, of course, regarding what falls under public use. The answer is most anything you can find on the internet published by the users themselves. Turns out the internet is public. Also, we had contact Facebook's legal team to garner a better understanding of their privacy guidelines before we, and when she says we, again, this is how do you interpret this? When she says we contacted, that means that someone that she worked with contacted. When she says I contacted, that means that Candace contacted. All right. So this is when she transitions into saying we, that is her still wanting to be part of that, but she didn't actually do it herself, which is fine. She can't do everything. Nobody can do everything. But that's Candace speak. And you know what? I would probably do the same thing oftentimes. If I was representing a team of people, if I did something individually, I may also sometimes still refer to it as the we, because even if I did it individually as part of a team, I did it representing the whole team. So that's something that I don't think Candace Owens is sophisticated enough yet to do when she talks about this type of stuff. Anyways, also, we contacted Facebook's legal team to garner a better understanding of their privacy guidelines before we sank thousands of dollars into building the real database. Plus, on our Kickstarter campaign, we had explained that we wouldn't be in need of more legal support. So wasn't it much too early for this line of questioning regarding an unlaunchable database? An unlaunchable database. Zoe Quinn was growing frustrated with my failure to understand what she was failing to understand. Oh, this is beautiful. It's a beautiful misunderstanding. I thought I could earn her support by explaining to her that we were focused on threats, the kind of people that threaten to put a bullet in the back of someone's head and rape their children because they disagree with their political opinions. Wow. Woohoo. In my estimation, such words belong to a parasitic community, a group that I do not at all fret when people ask, how could you create something that could potentially destroy their livelihood? Because how exactly do those people think such words don't destroy the livelihood of the person those words are launched against? Have you ever been threatened to be killed or raped repeatedly by an unknown harasser? Zoe Quinn disagreed with me. And here is where it got weird. She, meaning Zoe Quinn, told me that she knew those people were not bad people. Wow, this is awesome. That she herself had been part of the online group Anonymous, and that it was really just, quote, something they did, unquote. She explained that she would never want the people that harassed her listed anywhere, and that she knew the first and last name of some of them, yet had never reported them. And Candace Owens says, what? I grew silent. Again, this is Candace Owens. I didn't know what to say to someone telling me that they thought such internet aggression was light fun. I told her I appreciated the feedback and that she had given us an idea that maybe we should let celebrities and victims opt out somehow if they knew they are attackers. It felt like a good way to end the conversation positively. That's not a very well thought out idea, but Candace Owens is confused right now because there's so many policy implications here. She, meaning Zoe Quinn, reiterated to me her credentials, and said I ought to listen to her because of them, and that she didn't want to go back to the anti-bullying organizations that had reached out to her with concerns with the current answers I was giving her. So Zoe Quinn is kind of trying to say, there's a lot already here. There's organizations. She's probably trying to suggest there's government agencies, private agencies, donors. There's a book. Girlfriend, what are you doing? I think Zoe Quinn is trying to hint to Candace, just cool it. Just take a break. Just take a break. Go do something else for a while. Please don't do this. Zoe Quinn doesn't want it. It sounds like Zoe Quinn is trying to tell Candace something without telling Candace everything. And Candace Owens is not in it deep enough to know this yet. Wow. So, here, Candace Owens, I asked her to name which organizations, and she did not, meaning Zoe Quinn. I offered to have her put me in touch with them directly, and she declined. Because Zoe Quinn is like, just don't do this. I'm not agreeing with what Zoe Quinn is doing or not doing, but I'm just trying to understand, why, what she's thinking, all right? This is about the point when my red flag started waving back and forth wildly. Finally, I had been in the weeds with anti-bullying organizations, and I knew it was highly unlikely that they would send a third-party person to speak with us on their behalf. We are all part of the same initiative and wanted to help one another get there. There is absolutely no need to hide behind a third-party spokesperson if you have any legitimate concerns. Boy, she doesn't get it. Candace doesn't get it here. She's not a sophisticated political operator. She's blogging this. She's blogging it without running it by anybody. I know it. Because if she was running it by somebody, that would mean that it was supported. And if it was supported, she would have had an income. And if she had an income, she would have paid her bills and not have to file legal paperwork that she had toxic mold on her female private parts in order to not and to describe why she couldn't pay her rent anymore 3 months after this. This is fascinating because it's a moment of it's a glorious accident, and there's so much to be understood from this. They already wrote the book about Gamergate and at the end of 2015, the Crash Override Network. It was already done. Zoe Quinn was already at the United Nations. It was already at the United Nations. It was wrapped up. It was presented. There was the Women in the World Forum brought to you by Tina Brown of Talk Magazine. Zoe Quinn was flown to India, spoke in front of everyone. It's already done deal. Whatever the fallout of that was, which I still haven't really studied it or could repeat it, I still don't have a real crystal idea of exactly what they were trying to get out of it. It was a done deal. And Zoe Quinn's like, just what? No. It's like Zoe Quinn, her team built this huge house of cards, and Candace Owens just walking up to it, just like waving an umbrella back and forth, causing a wind, it's about to blow the whole thing over. Like, just stop. It's awesome. So, here we continuing on. She, Zoe Quinn, switched her tactic once again, telling me that I didn't know who I was messing with. I love it. Oh, I love it. This is one of the best blog posts ever written. It's so awesome. She warned me that Gamergate, the community, would come after me and that they would be ruthless. She warned me that they would try to end my Kickstarter campaign, put me through cyber hell, and that it wasn't an experience I wanted to live through as she had. It is very important to note that Zoe Quinn told me that Gamergate would try to end my Kickstarter campaign. Of course they would, because Gamergate's over. It happened. They got the book. She spoke in front of the United Nations. The story was told. And now it's getting really weird because of Candace Owens. Again, I had no idea who or what Gamergate was, but I assured her I was ready to embrace their backlash. Of course, one cannot expect to end cyberbullying without some sort of cyber revolt against us, and I was confident we would be ready when the time came. She, Zoe Quinn, then grew hysterical, claiming it wasn't enough, that she wanted me to put a stake in the project altogether, never bringing it to launch. This was particularly insane to me. The fact that she thought that with a simple phone call, I would drop something that I had sank thousands of dollars of personal investment and hard work into just because Zoe Quinn said so. And again, of course she invested thousands of dollars because she couldn't pay her rent starting that fall. This is why she had to file, which is now legacy level, highly embarrassing paperwork claiming that she had toxic mold on her female private parts. That's not something you do if you ever care about your public image. You resort to some pretty awful things to protect your public image. You don't you fabricate income to get credit cards you don't need. You sell things, anything you can, to protect your public image. You don't file paperwork like that unless you're desperate. So she really was in a bad shape with no other options. This was particularly insane to me. The fact that she thought with a simple phone call I would drop something that I had sunk thousands of dollars of personal investment and hard work into just because Zoe Quinn said so. Her suggestion was maniacal. I told her firmly, and with as much respect I could muster at that point, we were going to have to agree to disagree, that I was not dropping the project, nor was I clear on what exactly what it was exactly that had her so riled up emotionally. We had reached a point of no return here. She was beyond emotional, and I was, aside from confused, aware that she and I would never see eye to eye. I told her I had hoped that when we launched, she would see the value of the technology, at which point she broke into tears and exclaimed, "By then it will be too late. It will ruin everything." What the hell? With that, and after 43 minutes of erratic conversation, she hung up the phone on me. Wow, this really happened, guys. This really happened. I imagined that Zoe Quinn was devastated. I imagined she had collapsed on the floor of her bedroom in hysterics, maybe even punching a pillow in frustration on the way down. The point here, of course, is that her plan to effectively shut down socialautopsy.com with flex credentials and a pompous attitude had done nothing to shake its founder. Of course, Candace Owens here is thinking that this is Zoe Quinn driving this. I think Zoe Quinn is also an actress. You know, she's part of this machine. That's not to suggest that she's not smart or capable or hardworking or passionate or whatever. But many people that we see put on the stage for us, on the left, on the right, people for us to fight over, these things are orchestrated. They're arranged. They're hyped up. And I don't think that the whole Gamergate story was just Zoe Quinn, all right? It's Zoe Quinn. There's a network of people around here. They're steering her in certain directions. They're writing a book. She spoke in front of the United Nations. All of these things really happened. So if she was upset, assume she was, I don't think it's because she was just mad that her idea got blown up. She's probably stressed AF right now because there's a whole army of people behind her that she now has to talk to about what's going on. So she just had the book was just published. Things are settled. They're cool. She's gonna kind of go back. She'll forever be the Gamergate girl, but they're gonna kind of go back. And now her stress level is probably through the roof right now. I'm not agreeing at all with anything that happened with Gamergate. I have no particular opinion on it right now. But again, even if it's against the interest of my nation, I'm just trying to have empathy for what she's thinking, okay, and feeling right there. I'm going to look at chat in a bit. I'm going to finish this one block of code here. So, mentally, I couldn't establish what had just transpired. A person who I thought was an obvious ally had flown into a raging fit against me. I called a close friend and recounted the situation. I told him, there's no hims. There's no HIMs on social autopsy. So I wonder who the him is. Either she is severely Stockholmed. That's interesting. She knows the word Stockholmed. I'm sorry, but that's a little bit of a giveaway. Ooh. Stockholm syndrome, I don't think is a word that you see in liberal media that much. Ooh, that's a word. I could understand her not using the word doxed, but severely Stockholmed. I always hear that word on the left, on the right, the fake right in particular. Or she herself is a troll, no question about it. I didn't expect to do anything with those suspicions, of course, because we were still in the early midst of our campaign, a campaign that I had spent months prepping for. I instead waited about an hour or so and then resolved to send her, Zoe Quinn, a nice follow-up email so that I could completely reshift my focus. Let me play a little bit more Candace Owens from her. Again, this is the October 2016 TED Talk. While I just hydrate, and then I'm going to read some messages, and we'll get back to I think I'm going to need a part 3.
I'm an eternal optimist, though, and so I'd like to think that even if the conversation does seem to die down pretty quickly, we're at least being inspired by the conversation and the dialogue that we're having with individuals that we would not have had access to otherwise. We're thereby widening our own range of perception and ideals. I'd like to think. Except I personally know that there's an element of this digital activism that we don't often consider, because although so many of us are willing to spread and share our opinions and ideas rapidly, how many of us have ever been on the receiving end of those views being rapidly expressed? It always tends to be a little bit more of an exclusive club. But yes, in February of 2007, when I was a senior in high school, I became a social issue while I was sitting on my couch watching a Will Ferrell movie. My phone began ringing that night, and when I saw that the phone calls were...
She's talking about her...
I sent it to voicemail.
Hate crime issue right now. Excuse me. Hello, Peter. Nothing is below these psyop maniacs. Reverse Gwyneth Paltrow. Toxic mole and female parts is bogus. Yeah, I mean that's the claim. It's just the claim that she made. I don't think it actually happened. It also goes to show a lack of sophistication. I'm sure that she could have just said she wasn't sleeping. She is definitely a bit of a drama queen. Like everyone, Candace Owens always quickly goes to people want to kill her. People want to kill her. She always goes straight for the top shelf drink, right? There's no subtlety. There's no, President Macron of France is upset. It's always everyone wants to kill her. So there's no subtlety with her. She could have just said that she was sleeping poorly and was impacting her job. It's stupid. But the point is that someone so interested in public persona would have just paid their freaking rent. She didn't pay the rent because she didn't have the money. She couldn't even get the money. And that was a last-ditch effort. That's how I see it. And, well, who cares if she couldn't pay her rent in 2016 at this time? To me, it matters because if she had some financial support, she would have been able to pay her rent. Someone would have come forward. Here's some money. Here's some PayPal. Here's something, okay? You cover your bills. Keep doing what you're doing to help her get by and focus on what they needed her to focus on. And then she moved out in January 2016. She's evicted. Now things are really bad. So she's evicted, according to the paperwork, right? Let's see here. Review it in here. Was evicted in January 2017. So maybe at that point, I think that she got recruited by someone within the Breitbart network. I think Miley Yiannopoulos, Mike Cernovich, something around there found her and started to see her as someone that's going to be very useful for the operation starting in 2017. I suspect I'm not sure it happened before the Trump presidency. It is still my belief that, and not everyone shares this belief, and that's fine. We'll never know the truth because it's impossible to audit the U.S. voting system. I believe that Trump won in an unexpected landslide in 2017 or 2016, excuse me, and they just weren't prepared for that. But they already had contingency plans to get Trump out through public sentiment, and so people were hired after the electoral victory of Trump in 2016, as they were coming up with their plans on how things were going to go, like the Charlottesville rally in 2017. Those things were planned starting around at the end of 2016. And somewhere around there, Candace Owens, I believe, was recruited. Probably because out of this intrigue of what she did with Gamergate. Although she was a risky hire, because as you can see from this email, she's an interesting person because she's in the loop, but she's also way out of it. And she also has a dangerous amount of initiative. Candace Owens cannot be left unchecked by the people who pay her bills because she'll just do things. And it could cause a lot of problems, as I believe she caused a lot of problems in 2016. If these emails, this blog post that I'm reading right now, I've probably already said it at least once today, but I will say it again. Okay, I'll say it again. If this was the narrative that we were all supposed to know, then this blog post would be publicly available easily if people searched for it. The only narrative that's available out there is almost no narrative at all. In fact, let me demonstrate for you. Go to newspapers.com. Go to newspapers. I think I need to log in. Sorry, I'm going to need to just cover up the login window here. Just give me a second. Sign in with Ancestry. Hopefully it's got my... Okay, good. It's got that memorized. And search for Candace Owens. Candace Owens, okay? Candace Owens... Oops. Candace Owens... Did I type it in wrong? I did. Owens. Thank you. 4,536 mentions of Candace Owens in all U.S. newspapers. And we can see, now we know she's young, so let's just go to the year 1996, okay? There are, in 2017, 3 mentions of her in all U.S. newspapers. In 2016, I'll show you, 2017, there are 3 mentions of her in all U.S. newspapers in 2017. Candace Owens is doing videos 4 times on InfoWars. She's mentioned multiple times on Breitbart. She is on the Rubin Report. She's on Fox News. She's on Fox News twice in 2017. And 1 or 2 other major outlets. And only 3 references to her survive. And in fact, 2 of these, actually all 3 don't even correlate with her. One is a Candace Olivia Owens, not her. Another one is a woman named Candace married to a Jeff. That's not her. And the other one is from a memorial service in Arizona, who's not her. She doesn't exist in U.S. newspapers in 2017. If the idea was she becomes popular because of Gamergate, and then there's articles about her because of Gamergate, and if that's what they want people to know, then she would be found with a search on newspapers.com. 2016.
Completely honest on this stage
Whoops,
right now.
wrong keyboard.
I remember
2016, 13 mentions of Candace Owens, and all of them correspond to the Connecticut newspaper articles that were written about her before this blog post. This is March 13th, 2016. This is 5 weeks before the blog post that we're reading here. It means that her whole story here is scrubbed for this period of time. Why would you scrub it if the whole thing was an act to create visibility for Candace Owens? It's a simple question. It means that it didn't go according to plan. She screwed things up. And she wound up in a situation where she had to lie about having health problems and in order to explain why she couldn't cover her rent. I just find it so interesting. And this is the part that nobody wants to talk about regarding her. Or they misunderstand it as that article from the Armored Skeptic, I think, where I think I'm going to want to redo the Armored Skeptic analysis. I believe I was incorrect in my certainty that she did not have anything to do with the development of this social autopsy. Now, technically, I don't think she had anything to do with it, but it does appear as though she was providing some funding for it, probably even some of her own dollars, and she was at the very least having communications on a policy level about how this framework was going to work. I don't think she necessarily thought it all through, but I think I made that mistake. I mean, I'm still curious as to why she came up with that idea, to advocate for that idea at that time. But this blog post gave me a very interesting clue in saying that she had this admiration for John Mackey, who's a noted libertarian and a founder of Whole Foods. John Mackey, by the way, has also been on Joe Rogan. So it's a name that I should have known. Perhaps we all should be more familiar with if we haven't already. He's not a Trump supporter. I believe I did some quick searches on that. I think it's understood that he has some, again, and you can think Trump is real or fake. Point is that, the perception anyways. It's quite interesting. You just have to read every letter of these old blog posts. Maybe she needed a cover story for a certain nobody. I don't think so, Peter. Again, it's too personal, right? It's one of those stories, if you put out there, everyone's going to talk about it. Everyone's going to talk about it. And you don't want that kind of story out there. Even if she did. That's the type of thing you want to hide. You don't want to talk about stuff like that. Women who are famous actresses, if they need to have help with their fertility, they try to keep that stuff on the down low. It's just, Some people are okay, right? But for most people, it's generally understood that that's the type of stuff you don't want out there. It's why people get fake teeth. It's why people get caps on their teeth. It's why people get their teeth bleached. It's why they get injections to lose weight and do the Ozempic stuff. People are being dishonest about their natural beauty and their natural health. Tazik says, perhaps the herd of cats was controlled in 2017 and repurposed. 2017 with Charlottesville, it's being unleashed. So I think it was being rebuilt at the end of 2016, early 2017. Botox, thank you. Yes, Botox is another one. And, everyone wants to look a few years younger. If you look a little bit younger, you feel a little bit more confident. So there's that whole feedback loop, right? I mean, if you're presenting in front of a crowd and, self-conscious, you may not have as much confidence in what you're trying to deliver and sell people. So either way, I don't think she ever would have wanted to tell such a story. I think it goes to show some of her limited imagination. There's 1,000 other things that she could have said she had an allergy for. I mean, she did something that was kind of gross. Living, my best friend, my life partner, my wife has, sensitivities, chemical sensitivities that we now both need to deal with our whole life. She could have just said that, she I don't know, can't handle fabric softener or something like that. Candace Owens obviously just not aware of that. So again, she went for one of the top shelf things and sort of left something out there which can now tarnish her reputation. What you see is what you get. Thank you, Christy. I mean, obviously, I'm the same. Look, I got the $10 do-rag hat on, Snap-on shirt on. This is kind of what you get. Snap-on, one of the most awesome American companies. Okay, let us continue on here. Thank you guys again for being here. You already know the summary of the show. What a blog post! Wow, what a blog post! This is just so awesome. So, this is Candace Owens sending this is her follow-up email. Screenshot. This is her follow-up email to Zoe Quinn. You can go to my Candace Owens page. I've captured the archived version of this legacy blog post. I now have a copy of it. Many of the copies of this blog post, which have been archived in the Wayback Machine, don't have the images. I had to go through several of them before I found one that still had the images in it. I don't know why that is. But I found one that had archived the images, which is important. So now you have a copy of this email. So Candace Owens, in some ways, some people don't even believe that you should just be taking private emails and sharing them publicly. That's what some people believe. Other people believe that everything you do electronically can be shared public. I don't have a particular opinion on it, but Candace Owens seems very comfortable sharing public information here. All right. So, and she kind of repeats a lot of the same things. And the date on this was, see here. So this is April. Interesting here. She sent it on April 13th, 2016. All right. She forwarded it to somebody on April 17th, 2016, maybe even to herself, and now she's printing it and showing it here. So, in fact, she even comments on the time. You will note that my email, this is Candace Owens, back to her April 18th, 2016 blog post, that my email was sent to her around 12:53 a.m. that night, or technically the morning. I did not receive any response from her, and I myself didn't wind up making it to bed until around 4 a.m. Well, I have people sent me emails several years ago that I still haven't gotten to, so that's not because I couldn't sleep, but because suddenly my project took a nosedive. A mere 45 minutes after I sent that email out to Zoe Quinn, it began with a message from John Joe via our Kickstarter page. Okay, so now this is the part where we have to be very open-minded. So now these messages pop up on the Kickstarter, the fundraising page for Candace Owens' a social autopsy. This is from a John Joe. Crazy, because she was just talking about a John Doe. Sending her a message on April 13th, 2016 on Kickstarter that said, I don't know what that is for, nigger, nigger, nigger. Apologize for those who don't like the language. It is part of American language, though, and it's a word. So someone out of the blue is sending her a Kickstarter message, nigger, nigger, nigger. Why would anyone do that? How many hillbillies with a big belly and a button-up flannel shirt with the sleeves ripped off, sitting on a lawn chair in tall grass amongst the in the scrapyard with the dogs under a porch, are on Kickstarter looking for black women to call nigger? Come on. What is this all about? Come on. So am I to believe that Zoe Quinn, who has enough hardware in her lips to stock a shelf, the hardware aisle at the local hardware store, all kinds of different colored hair, Obama's the hero, has a group of friends that are going to troll someone for being black? Or am I to believe that Candace Owens is going to create fake Kickstarter accounts to use the word nigger? All of these scenarios are actually kind of hard to believe. None of them make any sense, really. But this is this smoking gun that Candace Owens is putting out there. So this blog post itself already shows that Candace Owens, in many ways, is being, I think, brutally honest, but also she's already shown her propensity to lie by not mentioning her 1 year at Vogue magazine in this blog post. So she will lie. She will lie. Absolutely. But I don't know what to make out of this. It doesn't really make any sense. How many black people have started Kickstarters, have been, attacked with fake Kickstarter accounts to call them nigger? Why would anyone waste their time? Even if someone is with the Klan. Really? You're going to be in the middle of the night on Kickstarter? Like, oh, it just blows me away. I don't know what's going on here. But this is Candace Owens' blog post. And let's say Zoe Quinn or a friend of Zoe Quinn did this. What kind of behavior do they expect to happen because of it? Really? You think Candace Owens or just this stranger is going to disappear because you called her a nigger? What? What do you expect? So it doesn't make any sense for Zoe Quinn. I don't know. I'm just so confused by this. Continuing on. And the onslaught continued nearly 10 minutes straight into the morning after that. Another person says, I can ruin your life. No one likes you, loser. So now this is interesting because this one was sent by an account called Don't Dox Me XD. Because Candace Owens just continued saying she doesn't use the word dox. And I think she's being accurate there because her Kickstarter campaign did not use the word dox and didn't use any language which resonates with the Gamergate story. So I don't think that Candace Owens would, within an hour or two, suddenly advance to starting accounts called Don't Dox Me XD. That doesn't make any sense. I can ruin your life. No one likes you, loser. And by the way, I've had, just for the record, I've had people send me messages like this too. Interesting name, no? Oh, look at this. She even comments on it because there was that word that we had never heard before, dox. And we began seeing it over and over again rapidly. Only one shown below. Other examples are included in the original article. Now that is awesome that even she is picking up on that. So this is Candace Owens showing that maybe she can actually do some real analysis herself. Or she's planting it out there. Or she's planting it out there as evidence that this is definitely not her, even though it really is her, but she's suggesting that it's not her because it's using a word that she didn't know up until then. Could be one or the other. Interesting name, no? Because there was that word that we had never heard before, again, dox. And we began seeing it over and over again rapidly. So I only had one, she had a whole bunch of responses here. I only captured one of them. From a Matthew Dame said, "What you're doing is wrong. You're providing a platform for massive community-wide doxing. You might think you're helping people, but you're not. The fact that dox boards like Baphomet and Kiwi Farms, this is definitely not her. I won't believe this is her. This isn't her language at all." So suddenly, our campaign had shifted from a positive one with plenty of support and feedback to an ugly one with menacing threats. We were shocked by the anger being expressed in all the messages. Here's one from someone named Michael. F you. You know what that means. You commie dumb bitch. Illuminati. Ho. See face. You. Wow. You are a cancer. Your stupid Kickstarter ruins. Oh my goodness. Ruins my, let's just say, stiffness. You are. Oh man. I shouldn't be laughing because there's women who have been impacted by stuff like this. You are the real bully, you stupid blah blah blah. Okay. This is crazy. The messages poured in with words that floated between misogyny and racism, and all came from, you guessed it, men. On our website, we were also being hit with feigned email subscriptions with entities that were misogynistic and racist at the exact same time, like this one. So, see, this stuff is happening fast. I don't think Candace Owens deserves rape at segregationworked.net. And it's all happens like within the same day. So if we are to believe her timeline, I don't think that she's just out there rapidly setting up all these accounts. This is a stupid response. And who could be behind this? Is the Zoe Quinn network? And if this was the desired, if they wanted the record out there, if this was meant to be part of the public story, this blog post wouldn't have been deleted like this. Candace Owens continues to say, I want all my readers to understand that we had not received a single item of spam to our Kickstarter folder before these messages appeared. And now they were flooding in one after another to our campaign page, to our Degree 181 accounts. And yep, you guessed it, via Twitter. I could no longer answer any legitimate concerns to our backers because we were being spammed in every which direction. To clarify, we had received exactly 8 legitimate messages to our Kickstarter account from backers before I spoke to Zoe Quinn. After I spoke to her, we had received about 52 of veiled threats before we gotten up to breakfast the next day. I did not think it was a coincidence. Men, misogyny, and gaming retrospectively, that was the one thing that was apparent in every single message I received, even down to the email addresses used. This is, if anything, this is the type of language that you would see from the childlike network that is around someone like Soph. Just it's childish almost. It's childish. It's stupid. I couldn't even think of it. I couldn't even think like this. So we know that there's these fakes that are out there who portray, who create the Soph type videos, the Soph type content, who pretend to be the black pill whatever. And now you see the similar language coming out. I don't think it's Zoe Quinn writing it. I think Zoe Quinn is right now freaking out because she's not the whole story. There's something else going on here. Okay. Is it a coincidence that everything that Zoe feared for us happened within hours of her warning me it might happen? Is it also a coincidence that after 5 weeks of campaigning and promotion, that the fear that was suddenly being expressed was the minors could be doxxed? However, I exited that suspicion when I received the anonymous email that morning, alerting me of a 4chan.org planned attack to debunk our Kickstarter efforts. So, are there other young people involved in the mix who are aware of this type of stuff? Because this is involving gaming. I'm just putting this together here. This is involving gaming. Let me see if I can find that. Let's see. I'm going to altcensor.com. It's going to have me do a couple of puzzles here. Please drag the shape. Please drag the shape. What the heck is... I don't even know what this puzzle's asking me to do. I guess I failed that one. Tap on the items that create the large shadows to rest under. Wow. Okay. Okay, I'm not fake. So let's look at that's not the one. I'm trying to find it here. I guess I don't have a link to it. Somewhere out there is a 2019 video, which would only be 3 years after this, of Nick Fuentes gaming while Soph, the daughter of Sasha Latipova, who also has a potty mouth, is gaming. And they're with a bunch of other people who are gaming before they have a discussion about something political. Now, I don't mean to imply that Nick Fuentes and Soph are the people that are involved with these emails and this type of teenage potty talk that is involved with Candace Owens. What I do mean, though, is to suggest is that Candace Owens is she's young still, but she's 27, 28 right now. She's not a gamer. She doesn't know the language. And suddenly, these type of messages come in using the same type of black pill teenage online harassment talk that you would see out of gamers, and it just so happens that other people that pop up into this fake alt-right, fake populist movement are like teenagers at this time who are gamers. Like Soph, like Nick Fuentes. And even if it's not them, they are very close to large networks of people who do this type of stuff all the time. They, at this time, if they're connected with anyone, directly or indirectly, it would be someone who knows Zoe Quinn. And not Candace Owens, that's for sure. No way, no way. Candace Owens doesn't want to hang out with these fat, pimply nerds. Candace Owens does not want to be that crowd. Candace Owens is too cool. Candace Owens was at Vogue. You really think she wants to hang out with pimply little teenagers that are shit posting each other on Twitter? She doesn't want to do that. No way. Now, would Zoe Quinn have asked people to type stuff like this in? I think that she's a little bit too old and sophisticated to think that that's the right way to go. But somebody, I think, connected with Zoe Quinn, which, again, suggests that there's an amount of orchestration and fakery to Gamergate, might have said, okay, you gotta upset this Candace Owens. Maybe, right? It's one possibility. I just don't think Candace Owens would have the mindset to have written these types of things in that language. But when I look at this type of language, I mean, look at these details here, okay? Candace Owens deserves rape at segregationwork.net. That is exactly the type of joke email that I would see on Soph or out of Nick Fuentes. Exactly, precisely the type of stuff that they would send out. Or this, from this Michael guy. It's exactly, precisely the type of stuff that Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes, by the way, went on to even be, in some ways, friendly with this, trying to expose Israel. Israel's behind everything, groiper, whatever thing, with frogs and smiling, puckered up lips, toads, and I don't know what the hell all this stuff is about. And I'm trying not to say the F words. I don't know. Just, I've already, saying plenty of ugly things here. One more paragraph here. After this, I don't know. I'm not even going to read that one. It was another male. He was tipping me off and simultaneously threatening me against continuing our campaign. He said he, quote, wasn't doing it to warn me, unquote. And yet clearly he was. But it wasn't what stood out to me. What stood out to me, and again, this is Candace Owens writing a long blog post, I still believe, without running it by anybody. She's doing this, she just tweeted, she just wrote this blog post. It has typos in it. It has mistakes, which are bad, and it's been deleted. So, what stood out to me was the fact that this email came to my personal email address. It was not directed to us via Kickstarter, which is the most sensible way to contact us if you have any real concerns. Nor did it come in to us through many of the other highly publicized Degree 180 and Social Autopsy contact accounts. This came in through my email, the address of which I had only given to Zoe Quinn when she reached out to me via Twitter. Candace Owens could totally be planting this evidence. And again, she has lied, been dishonest, and misrepresented some things in here already. But I believe, because you know what sells it is the videos. The old videos of her, where's my mouse pointer? Okay. The video of her with the Social Autopsy Kickstarter. The video of her on the not that one. I don't know where it is right now. the video of her the social autopsy FAQ. I'll try to find a better freeze frame of her. That one's not good. That one's not good either. Here we go. That works. Actually, that one's really good. What stood out to me was the fact that email came to my personal accounts. It was not directed to us via Kickstarter, which is the most sensible way to contact us if you have real concerns. Nor did it come in to us through many of the other highly publicized Degree 180 and social autopsy contact accounts. This came in through my email, the address of which I had only given to Zoe Quinn when she reached out to me via Twitter. My personal email was then signed up for 2 porn sites, again odd, considering guessing my email address would be an unnatural route for any person to take given the publicity of our campaign. This was not a coincidence at all in my estimates. She slipped up. Zoe emailed me a response to my follow-up email shortly thereafter at 1:09 a.m. Of course, Candace Owens may be unaware that Twitter is not direct communication like you think it is. When you're talking to a person on Twitter, you're talking to their group. You're talking to their team, and you're also talking to their manager. And I doubt Zoe Quinn is personally managing thousands of emails and thousands of tweets a day. Zoe Quinn has already been up-leveled to being a team. Zoe Quinn is a brand here. Zoe Quinn is a brand. And like other brand accounts, okay, you don't suddenly have superhuman powers to read, thousands of emails a day, thousands of tweets a day, respond to thousands of tweets a day, respond to thousands of messages on your videos every day, write, 500 pages of Substack a week. You don't get superhuman powers when you become more visible. You have a team of people, which then creates the brand of your name. Candace Owens isn't there yet. Zoe Quinn is. She already has a book out about her. Zoe Quinn is already a brand at this point. So if Candace Owens sent her email to Zoe Quinn, what really happened is she sent her email to Zoe Quinn's team. And so now easily someone else in the team could have, been using that email to now start to harass Candace Owens and sign Candace Owens up for things. Candace Owens isn't on this type of a team yet. This type of sophisticated team think is not something that Candace Owens is part of yet. She's totally part of it right now. 100%, 1,000% for several years, since 2018 at least. But she's not part of it at this time. All right, so Zoe emailed me a response to my follow-up shortly after 1:09 p.m. She was writing to warn me that my earlier site had been Googled and alluded to the fact that this was evidence that our site was not developed in an expert way. She wrote, leaving aside the incredibly insulting response, I will just say, blah, 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 blah. Whoever is coding your site is already exposing your data in list format to anyone who knows how to Google. This probably means that, Candace Owens has probably hired an unsophisticated developer, maybe someone in India. You can go online and you can find tens of thousands of people who will work for a certain hourly rate to code things for you. I don't know how those sites work or how to vet people, but I know that they're out there. Many are in India. Some could be students in the United States or, people who just want to make a little money on the side in the tech space. I don't know how good they are and how to vet them, but this is, and maybe that should have been expected. I don't know. But anyways, there it was. The months earlier mock site, which we had used as a rough draft to internally assess our design flaws. That's language. That is a language that I would use as a developer myself. And this I see as evidence that Candace Owens was involved in representing the site and coming out with some of the workflow design and analysis of it. So I'm being sold more and more as I read this that Candace Owens had at least that type of involvement in it. I may take down some of the videos I made a week or two ago. She didn't code it, of course. I was confused. This is Candace Owens. I was confused because we had never brought the site live, but I understand the implications. She was going to push this out, and people were going to say that they had uncovered our actual site as evidence of what we built was technologically flawed. And within minutes, we saw it circulating on Twitter. I hit back hard in my email back to her. I suddenly understood that she was at the center of trying to smear our reputation, but I didn't understand why. And this is a copy of her email, Candace Owens to Zoe Quinn, 1:53 p.m. afternoon, Wednesday. See, that's interesting. So this is 1:53. Okay, it's the afternoon. So this is about 12 hours later. Her response. This is, 5 minutes later. So Zoe Quinn, quick response to Candace Owens. It's beyond disgusting to me that you would pin blame for anonymous people sending you hate on me, and really displays how ignorant you are about online abuse. Reddit was blowing up about this before I ever saw it. Do not contact me again unless it's with an apology. It's funny because that's kind of how Candace Owens always victim blames also. Oh, now Candace Owens getting angry. Don't hold your breath, bitch, she says. And this is Candace Owens typing in her blog post. I had directed a Twitter rant earlier that day to the Gamergate community using the appropriate hashtag. I felt it was under attack by them and knew Zoe had tipped them off. I was trying desperately to get people to understand that my company wasn't bad. These people were. Zoe for initiating it and Gamergate for fighting the battle for her with full force. Our Twitter account was exploding still, now being mentioned about every 3 seconds. The rumor was that we were creating a site that would dox minors. They were tweeting at parenting organizations, at the FBI, at anyone who would listen to the fact that Social Autopsy was committing a crime. They were retweeting and sharing facts as though they had been spoken of from God himself. Boy, is that the pot calling the kettle black? And everything they were saying was a lie. Since Zoe Quinn had alerted me to both the Reddit and presumably the 4chan feeds, I was now given a front row seat to the plan that was being devised to take us down. They had announced that they were, again, doxing minors, and that if we all emailed Kickstarter, they could have our campaign taken down, and they did so successfully. I had alerted Kickstarter to their plan and the email chain, and they responded in kind, which was reassuring. But hours later, we had learned that they, meaning Kickstarter, had caved. Less than 48 hours on Kickstarter, and for certain, we had somehow managed to go viral. But this was an odd instance of viral. We had gone viral within the very niche community of gaming, to which we had no prior interest or connection. That isn't how viral works. In fact, we were only viral within the gamer community. It had somehow been contained, and the lies were growing more and more aggressive, and personal shots taken at my character. I was being labeled a feminazi, which really, we had no one read my articles following how I hated feminism for the sake of feminism and lambasting the free Keisha campaign. I was photoshopped to appear anti-Semitic, although I had written about it although I had written once about the Jewish man I once dated. Oh boy. That's going to be a video short. The Jewish man she once dated. Let's read about the Jewish man that she once dated. I mean, I don't really care, isn't dating sort of like hell on earth? This is Candace Owens, July 2nd, 2016. This is Candace Owens talking about dating. She has high standards. My heart isn't in it. I'm a more confident person right now. I don't see the word Jew in here. I don't know. Anyways, she had written once about the Jewish man she once dated quite favorably. So I guess she likes dating Jewish guys. I was labeled a pedophile supporter, an idiot, and you name it. It was vicious. I knew, of course, that I was at the center of an effective smear campaign against a database that hadn't even launched. The smoking gun. Confession. I have no idea who Randy Harper is. I saw that she was in my Twitter mentions, but I didn't think to take the time to examine why a group of trolls kept wanting to shove her down my throat in a positive light. Double confession. I have no interest in discovering who Randy Lee Harper is and still have no intention of looking her up or speaking with her ever. My boyfriend, she has a boyfriend at the time, caught wind of a post from the Ralph Report. What's the Ralph Retort? What is the Ralph Retort? Is that a Ralph Nader? Anyways, something else that'll be pulled up from the archive. That he was labeled fair. That he labeled fair, which was a breath of fresh air from the vermin-like journalistic endeavors that we had been seeing exercised thus far. Ralph's post included excerpts from an open letter written by Randy Lee Harper, which can only be described as a diatribe against Candace Owens and social autopsy. She, of course, began with her resume, which, similar to her cohort, Mrs. Zoe Quinn, read something like from someone who thought they were on the fast track to becoming the next Oprah. The only difference is she explained why she was listing her exhaustive list of qualifications. So I guess this is this Randy Lee Harper. I'm telling you my credentials so you can understand where I'm coming from. And when I tell you unequivocally, you're a goddamn train wreck. She continued, Zoe Quinn, that is, her elementary style of writing and teenaged-like inflammatory language with a brave, you are a effing idiot. So gloves off. I'm going to tell you now why your idea is shit. Unquote. No, really, that's a direct quote. This is Candace Owens. And not from any of the children under the age of 10 that I often once babysat. Yes, it is ironic that within this writing capacity, she somehow felt empowered enough to take swipes at my professionalism and intelligence. And yes, it is ironic that she proclaims she is a feminist. It is both ironic and borderline delusional, indicative of someone who has begun to believe in her own infallibility. Her crappy writing isn't what warranted my attention. Oh, man. Although she says she was an English journalism major in college, that is true. She didn't finish. And have therefore seen many examples of such writing teetering frequently between poor grammar and childishness. I will say that overall, her writing is not bad. I have read some really bad writing, and this isn't bad. Now, she could have used a grammar tool to improve it. It's not bad. A few typos, but overall, it's not bad, really. And I don't think she might have had a tool to help, but I don't think she had a team work on this because she's saying too much. What caught my attention was the line, this is Candace Owens again, you blamed your Kickstarter getting shut down on trolls. You're wrong. This was Zoe and I, unquote. It was one little sentence, that one little line that locked everything into place for me instantly because Randy Lee Harper was making an appeal to the Gamergate community with it. She was, in one little sentence, playing the martyr. She wanted them to believe that she and Zoe didn't understand my Twitter outrage against them and that they were happy to admit it. It was actually them. Her, Randy Lee Harper, and Zoe Quinn had coordinated poorly there because Zoe had called me, warning me against Gamergate and telling me they were going to try to end our campaign. Zoe Quinn was the one dropping breadcrumbs for me to see exactly what Gamergate's plans were to do. It became very apparent to me that they were playing both sides. I suddenly began to wonder why. Why did our Kickstarter campaign get so viciously attacked after 12 hours? Why had it gone viral within just one community? Why were we on Reddit, blogs, 4chan being tweeted every 3 seconds, receiving hate mail, threats, and spam from every direction? Why had someone taken the time to Photoshop my face beside a swastika? This is exactly the type of shit that Soph would do. It's exactly the type of stuff that you would see the Nick Fuentes community involved in. But you know what else? You know who else this was also like? Because there's 2 other people here in the background. One of the biggest names made popular by Gamergate in 2015 and 15 was Milo Yiannopoulos. Milo Yiannopoulos, who was photographed only by Peter Duke. Milo Yiannopoulos from England, you know, the gray geek Greek guy who's part Jewish, who loves to talk about being gay. He's really gay. He loves gays. He's black cock, gay, flaming gay Milo, but he's still a Republican. And he has hashtag Republican t-shirts, even though he lives in the UK where he can't vote in America. And Milo was made famous in 2015 for crazy statements he made and being one of the first people to get kicked off of Twitter for statements that he made. The tech editor of Breitbart, Milo Yiannopoulos. Milo Yiannopoulos is a huge part of the Gamergate story. It makes you wonder if Milo Yiannopoulos was already in collusion with people like Randy Lee Harper and Zoe Quinn. Because when you really think about it, they're kind of cut from the same cloth. And another person who's in the background here, the very first person to get their account kicked off of Twitter because of crazy inflammatory statements they made, was Chuck Johnson, also photographed by Peter Duke. Chuck Johnson, also associated with Breitbart. Chuck Johnson, who was on the Megyn Kelly show at age 23. Chuck Johnson, who brought 2 hours of inflammatory missing President Obama tapes, I guess, when Obama was young, to Fox News. The same tapes, which, as far as I know, were only in the position of Andrew Breitbart before Andrew Breitbart died in early 2012, before Chuck Johnson winds up being the person to go to Fox News and say that then he had the tapes. So if there's any orchestration going on here with Zoe Quinn and this Randy Lee Harper and other people in the background staging a lot of this bullshit about Gamergate and hyping it up, you notice that the language of the attack emails against Candace that Candace Owens is sharing are very similar to the type of things that Soph, the daughter of Sasha Latapova, and the rest of all of these LARPers would be making. And it just so happens that as time goes on, one of the most frequent collaborators of Candace Owens becomes Milo Yiannopoulos. Milo Yiannopoulos, Cernovich in that crowd, Nick Fuentes. It can't just be a coincidence. It cannot be a coincidence. Even to the point where you have Candace Owens, who worked at Vogue, being represented so favorably, well, you know the rest. Why did our Kickstarter campaign get attacked so viciously after 12 hours? Why had it gone viral within just one community? Why were we on Reddit, blogs, 4chan, being tweeted every 3 seconds, receiving hate mail, threats, and spam from every direction? Why had someone taken the time to Photoshop my face beside a swastika? Why had someone by the way, swastika, it's actually a symbol of peace, love, and sun god worship, which was adopted by the godless Nazis because of their love of Hinduism. Just saying. We had someone open opened a counterfeit Twitter account pretending to be me? Why had they started a change.org petition? Why had they inundated Kickstarter with emails? And why was Randy Harper now penning a piece that was 2,567 words long, even though this piece here is even longer than that? It was a lot for 24 hours. It was too much, in fact. One of our Twitter followers may have said it best when he offered that it takes so much effort. It was our campaign's first 24 hours, and yet all of this had transpired. These people, all anonymous, I should mention, were not just voicing their opinions. They were spending hours and hours of dedicated time ensuring that the public knew how awful I was and that I had to be stopped by any means. This was not only cyber harassment, it was a form of terrorism. And the why. And now the why. Randy Harper and Zoe Quinn had discussed my project with one another. Regarding that, there can be no question. They thought they could get me to pull the project down by beefing up their respective resumes and with one phone call from patient zero of Gamergate. When that didn't work, the two of them launched an effort of cyber terrorism. When I began suspecting as much, I created a list of all the Twitter names that had been tweeting against that. I created a list of all the Twitter names we had seen tweeting at us aggressively from the start. They were all anonymous, and they were all retweeting one another to make it appear as though they all had agreed, and that conclusion was unanimous regarding social autopsy. They were trying to appear bigger than they actually were. And these initial accounts were connected by one thing and one thing only: effort. Early effort, and a lot of it. One account, look at that, with Meta. Even took it upon herself to write a blog piece regarding social autopsy on hub pages. It was the first blog that anonymous user had ever written on hub pages. Candace Owens is calling it out here. She sees it. Not many people get to see it. Jonathan Cooey, Gigo and Biological get to see it. Myself get to see it. We're not being dishonest about our background. We didn't, it's a little bit different here. But she is pissed. She had pissed people off, I think. She's not running this by anyone. She just writes this big, huge blog post. So I launched a plan to protest my theory, because I knew that anything that had happened before would be considered coincidental. Our Kickstarter had been shut down, and yet we were still receiving emailed threats about our database, since we hadn't backed down from launching it. This time, the threats were going to be bloggers of Degree180.com and to our respective contact accounts. Here's one such email that was written on Friday, April 15th, 8:45 p.m. from a Jack Keeley. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. From Jack, of course, another guy. By then, I read the multiple stories about how Randy and Zoe had made their money off of abuse from men. I had read specific examples regarding other women they had harassed and taken down, and about how they themselves had been accused of doxing. Former victims contacted me with their real names and provided me with examples of their DNA. Racism, misogyny, Gamergate, troll accounts, a cocktail for success. Now back to my plan. Shortly after receiving this email from Jack, I announced on Twitter that I would be releasing all of the emails and that I would be going to the Ralph Retort webcast with my suspicions that Zoe Quinn was behind the cyber attacks. Candace Owens doesn't get it. I ranted that I thought she was behind all of the email attacks we had received, and that this was time, to quote her cohort, the gloves were off. I announced that I had emails and evidence that I would be speaking out. I focused purposely on the fact that I had emails. My plan worked. The emails magically stopped. They stopped cold turkey. As I sit writing this today, we have gone an entire weekend without receiving so much as one emailed threat. Still think that's a coincidence? A total inundation and then a total sudden stop? No, that was the sloppy work of Zoe Quinn. I disagree with Candace Owens. That was the sloppy work of the people behind Zoe Quinn. It's interesting and really something. I had never considered just how much power you could wield if you devoted yourself to creating a cyber unit, even if it was just you and 20 other people involved, each with multiple fake accounts. Jonathan Cooey, are you hearing this one? Candace Owens is saying how much power you can create with just you and 10 or 20 other people with a lot of fake accounts that are amplified. Candace Owens didn't get it. She doesn't know that social media is fake. Here, she is realizing that social media is fake. If Candace Owens was always, from day one, an orchestrated illusion every single step of the way, she never, ever, 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 ever would give people the idea that when they turn on their famous people, that it would be an illusion. And the crazy part is now Candace Owens herself benefits from this. Do you really think that, 1 million people, whatever the hell it is, are watching Candace Owens so she could rant on and on about the most insane, stupid series of garbage data? Nobody cares. She's incomprehensible right now. So she herself right now is doing this. But at the time, she was out of that loop. If a blog piece was written about you, you could also inundate beneath it and write criticisms, shifting the landscape of other people's thoughts. Just watch what happens beneath this one. She's talking about this blog post. If a company was coming out and said in their crowdfunding video, quote, "What we are doing is figuratively lifting the masks off of trolls," unquote, you could inundate Kickstarter with email complaints about minors and make them believe that they were involved in something dirty. Wow. And what does she do right now? Epstein, Israel, minors, pedos. Turning Point USA is currently trafficking kids, according to her. They're trafficking kids. And Erica Kirk is part of the child trafficking, kidnapping, Epstein-related cover-up because they're going to use Zionism and Jews and something to kill Kirk and take over America and blah, blah, blah. Garbage, garbage, garbage. You can control people's perception. What's the value of that? You could feign friends, feign your support, exaggerate your own presence and significance. Candace Owens is talking about how social media could be used to screw people, could be used to destroy the country. No wonder why this was a deleted blog post. This is the best thing Candace Owens ever wrote in her life. As a matter of fact, if I were to write a story right now about how social media is all fake and is all orchestrated, I might actually just use Candace Owens' own blog post as a starting point. A false, assumed majority. Bad underlying. Look at that. Bad assumptions. Bad assumptions. She's even talking about bad underlying assumptions. That goes back and forth on a 4chan thread. A false assumed majority that hits the internet, writing as many awful things about Candace Owens and her technically not yet founded company, Social Autopsy, before they even get an opportunity to launch. An effort to deter investors, supporters, and the general public. An effort to control what lives and dies. A false assumed majority. False assumptions, such as, we should talk about every option of what happened with Charlie Kirk. Was he killed by the lone assassin, or was he killed because Erica Kirk had a flame with her ex-boyfriend and Bibi Netanyahu and some pedophiles from Israel want to infiltrate Turning Point USA? Maybe Charlie Kirk isn't dead. which explains why his parents are acting why he's not dead. Erica Kirk is acting why he's not dead. Turning Point USA is acting like he's not dead. They're not pursuing who killed him like he's not dead. Maybe every single strange anomaly can easily be explained that he's just not dead. He was removed from the stage for some national security reason, which is why nothing lines up. The bullet doesn't make sense. The injury doesn't make sense. The video doesn't make sense. The blood doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense unless you consider that possibility. That is, the wrong underlying assumption is he's dead. He's definitely dead. And he was killed this way or that way. You get people fired up over the wrong argument. Oh, did the virus come from a lab? Or did the virus come from nature? Let's use this evidence from India to steer things and never mention India again. And ever talk about Ralph Barrick. Blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, people were just flat out murdered. They were flat out murdered while the photographer of Miley Yiannopoulos, Peter Duke, and George Webb are doing videos that we should be listening to Paul Cottrell, who is watching the bodies pile up from the streets of New York from his undisclosed Wall Street apartment. After having been an account manager for the Catholic Charities. People were just murdered. They were just murdered. There was no gain-of-function virus, you assholes. People were murdered. And the reason why more people died with this stupid transfection that wasn't necessary, most of the shots were placebos, by the way, is because of the underlying false presumption that there was a threat in the first place. People were murdered, mass murdered. And it's happened to people in my family and many families of people that I'm now friends with. People were murdered, and the murder was made possible by people who took money to lie in the internet and promote assholes like Paul Cottrell with a false underlying assumption that there really was a deadly novel virus rotating Nazi blades on a spike protein or some stupid shit like that. Ideas which are still floating around out there. It's not just, we're not arguing about, who should play nose tackle for the Saints. These lies kill people. People are dying today because of lies and bullshit promoted by Paul Cottrell, Kevin McKernan, and the rest of these idiots. People are dying right now. People are dying. And they want buy me a coffee money? Candace Owens is telling you here she had figured it out. And one of the reasons why she figured it out is the pressure. And I think it's because she was alone at this point. One of the reasons why it took me so long to figure it out is because people kept nudging me here, nudging me there. You should trust this person. Don't trust that person. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And the more I listened and got, nudged around and poked and prodded and pushed by other people, the harder it was for me to see it. The more I disconnected, the easier it was to see. It will ruin everything, literally. And the strange fact is eventually she sold out. She couldn't pay her bills. And, I think the rest, it's amazing. She couldn't pay her bills. She sold out. And now Candace Owens, think of it, 4 fake kids married to a billionaire or something over in England, living in Kentucky, promoting the lie. She sold out. She became it. It's kind of sad in that way. But for a brief moment of time, she saw it, she said it, it was erased for a brief moment of time. And then she couldn't pay her bills after this. This is when she filed the paperwork, September, October, November, saying that she had this toxic mold problem. You could tell from her body language, from that video, from the I can't find it right now, wherever it was, from the TED Talk that she did, her body language is, her shoulders are slumped. She doesn't have it. She's lost it. She is ready for it to all go. And then I think after the victory of Trump, they realize that they are going to have to really dig in and do something really big for Charlottesville. And there's a lot of benefits for Candace Owens in this case. I mean, first off, think of how invested she becomes in Charlottesville. Her videos come out at the time of Charlottesville. She doesn't care about the Klan. Charlottesville, Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia, another one of the top all-time friends of Mark Weiner, the father of the company she co-founds Social Autopsy with. Robert Malone, David Martin are from Charlottesville or have their time in Charlottesville. Another one of the video game guys, Nick Fuentes. His big emergence onto the public scene was Charlottesville. Miley Yiannopoulos is Charlottesville. Stefan Molyneux, Cernovich, they get promoted because of Charlottesville. So she becomes part of it then. They probably hired her, I think, it could have been December or January of 2017. December 2016, January 2017. They probably told her, don't worry about your old apartment. Take the eviction. We're going to start paying you, $10,000 a month, maybe $15,000 a month, including fees. Sounds like a lot of money, but trust me, when you start adding up all the fees, mortgage, health insurance, everything else, that goes pretty quick. Not to mention, she's as a female, she's going to need money for makeup, for clothing. Good female clothing is not cheap. Travel. And then she's instantly boosted by Paul Joseph Watson out in the UK as the biggest threat to the Democrat Party. And since then, she has never, ever expressed how it really works behind the scenes, how the sausage is made. But she said it for a brief moment of time. She figured it out, which means if there's anybody that really understands how it works, how social media manipulation works, soup to nuts, fake followers, fake comments, scripted Substacks, she doesn't really Substack, but scripted super chats with questions that come in ahead of time, fake likes, fake followers, fake promotions, fake retweets, and all of that other stuff. It will be Candace Owens because she saw herself exactly how it works and how it could boost people and how it could destroy people. And she wound up being morally flexible enough to be okay with it. And maybe she's right. Maybe the machine is so big that we're all just pissing in the wind at this point. We should just give up. Maybe she's right. Maybe we're the stupid ones for even trying to fight against it. And she's like, well, if you can't bend them, might as well join them. Now she'll have enough money, be able to pay for her mom's retirement home, and she'll be okay. Maybe she's the smart one. But that's irrelevant, okay? To the point of this conversation, I'm not covering this. I'm not doing this video today because it's important to have some sort of moral judgment on Candace Owens doing the right thing or not. It's really about how much can be learned. And I did not expect, holy crap, to get that. I knew there was a lot of insight there, but it's incredible. This blog post is incredible. And you can't get there if you just take other people's Mickey Mouse understanding of Candace Owens. So we just do a little bit of chat here. I'm back. Ludmilla Owens. There's a lot of Owens out there. It's it's not the most common last name, but I saw a couple videos made by some other people in Stamford who lived near where she grew up, and she did not live in the affluent area of Stamford. There are, by the way, a lot of affluent people around Stamford. It's one of the wealthiest areas in the nation. So if you grow up in Stamford, it's interesting because you're not far away from some of the richest people in America. But there's also neighborhoods there where the shootings happen. It's better than Bridgeport, but there's some pretty tough areas in Stamford. So she really didn't come from money. I mean, that's it. That the answer is she didn't. She got introduced, though, to people who did as a byproduct, as a fallout from the allegations that happened in that she made in high school. Vilma Malone versus married Tally Bowen and her sister Shannon Joyless. Yeah. The Robert Malone video. Robert Malone gives her 2 hours right after Candace Owens. Right after Robert Malone was on the Joe Rogan show. Again, Candace Owens clearly being boosted. I mean, she's getting shout-outs from Kanye West, for heaven's sake. Throughout 2017, 2018, Kanye West tweeting, he really likes how Candace Owens thinks. He didn't say that, though, when Candace Owens was talking about how the sausage was made with respect to social media. In 1971, dated Jewish man because they told me they would never date married Jewish princess. How you doing, Carrie? Good to have you in the chat. Young men, yeah, most gamers are mostly young men, but I met a surprising number of middle-aged men who are into gamers. I don't know how old they will get, but I've known guys in their 50s who already had multiple children, and they would game with their children. Somewhere out there's a video, hours, of Nick Fuentes video gaming, and he's not playing the same video game as Sophia, Sasha Ladapova's daughter. But again, it's just unusual. It's a cultural thing, and the language that's used there it matches culturally with what you would see from Soph or from people that Soph immediately associate with. That is a dead match. Even if I tried, I don't think I could write a message like that right now. My natural language would just keep coming through, even if I tried. So it also implies that by understanding what the attacks were, the response anyways, against Candace Owens here in 2016, it suggests that maybe there was already some pipeline, some collusion between the Nick Fuentes, Soph, future fake alt-right people, and the very same people of Gamergate. And if you look for Miley Yiannopoulos, you'll find that a big part of Miley Yiannopoulos' story is Gamergate. Miley Yiannopoulos, I think, was the last interview that Candace Owens did before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Miley Yiannopoulos was with Breitbart as part of writing the posts, which helped me discover this massive, amazing old blog post from Candace Owens. Go back here a little bit here. Carrie did one Kickstarter. I think I might have tried one once. I believe I have an account out there. I don't even remember what it was for. I've given some money to other people on Kickstarter. I'm pretty sure I have. It wasn't Kickstarter. It was some other fundraising site. It wasn't a Kickstarter though. The biggest online donation I ever made. I regret it. I deeply regret it. As I gave $200 to that Roy Moore for Senate of Alabama thing. That was 2018. You can go ahead, clip it, and share the video. I know no one will do that. No one will even share inflammatory videos of me because they don't want my name known. But it was $200. I thought Steve Bannon was a good guy. I thought Steve Bannon was a good guy who had told the truth. I actually believed that once in 2017, I think. And I'm like, wow, this Roy Moore, he has to win. We have to protect our country. They must be telling lies about him. Now, if I had to guess right now, I think Roy Moore was guilty of the alleged crimes, misconduct, sexual misconduct, and what can I say? I was misled. In fact, I would be suspicious of anyone that doesn't have a few stories of having been misled. We should all, just fess up. It is what it is. And I'm frustrated that I was lied to like that. Vilma says, well, I believe Steve Bannon was a good guy until he promoted Robert Malone. Yeah, that one was weird. I don't know what flipped the switch for me on Steve Bannon. Was it Malone? I don't know. I don't know what it was. We did a lot of a big Steve Bannon dive. See, I'm starting to stumble a little bit here. We did a good dive on Steve Bannon, and I don't know what one thing it was with Steve Bannon, because there's plenty of moments where he seems to have a good head on his shoulders, and then he drops the ball quite often. It's like it's this constant thing of being impressive, trying to get everyone's attention, being seen as the subject matter expert, the leader that you want to exist and you want to follow. And then when they get enough attention, suddenly they just screw up and start to change. And then people drift away, and then they become that leader again. They start saying the right things. People start following, and then it's this cycle. It happens over and over again. So anyways, here we are, and I think that was a fantastic deep dive. Sorry it took so long. Maybe I'll read it again. Maybe what I'll do is I'll post this. If you're watching this, expect me to do this again sometime soon. Do it a little bit faster, and maybe I will edit that version so it can be consumed a little bit easier. And now that I know exactly how the whole thing flows, I will probably introduce it a little bit differently next time. But I think that this was a really, really good. Always failing when it matters. Failing after you get people's attention, trust, political contributions, etc. That's exactly when they fail. This is just fantastic. This was fantastic. I actually need some time for this to simmer. It's like you just threw in all the yummy vegetables, and it's just boiling right now. This needs some time to simmer. This needs some time to caramelize, this blog post here. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for keeping me company. Thank you for your time and all your support. Okay, HughesAtonic.live, HughesAtonicITS.com. Use the archive, share the links. Tons of material there. There's continuing to be a whole lot more. You can find this copy on the Candace Owens page. Keep analyzing, keep an open mind, and what the heck. All right, that's enough. Love you much. And maybe we'll see you later. Maybe not. If not, definitely tomorrow. Thank you guys. Take care, and God bless.